got him. But again, what could you say about Brandon? And Tim, just the weapon he is for us and what he can create for us, the field position and the kicking game, and then obviously the ability to generate points. Dak, incredible year. He's playing great. Just, his accomplishments are not surprising. Tyler Smith, again, you speak to Tyler Smith, you just talk about going from left guard to left tackle. Certainly what he's done, this really entire year is just amazing. And then you get Q, who, again, we're just really fortunate to have. And I feel like, again, he's, hopefully trending to be back this week. And the last one was, I should know this. GP. Yeah, that's just GP. I think, what he's done for us has been incredible. And but all those guys very deserving. And, again, I think, find a way to win a few more games and we would have had more guys.
And along those lines, obviously more offense than defense. You may not agree with this. In your first year, as head coaches are either offensive guys or defensive guys, and they eventually become head coaches. You seem very willing to take responsibility on offense, a little less critical of the defense. Do you need to do anything, or do you see yourself doing anything to become more of a defensive guy next year, and where the defense has the same share of responsibility in your mind?
Yeah, I think the starting point, the answer is absolutely in every regard. Part of being the head coach of a football team is that you have to oversee everything. You're involved in personnel, you're involved in all really day-to-day operations, but when you talk about the actual football that goes on, it's really all three phases. It's not just offense, it's defense, it's special teams. As I look back on year one, and we'll evaluate this after the season goes, finding those pockets of time where you can go in and spend, more time with Nick and just talk about some of the plans for special teams. We, of course, have meetings. We talk about things, but there's probably, different ways to do that. And I'll certainly spend time this offseason talking to some of my mentors and people around the league that have been doing this for a while and just kind of see how they do it. But the answer is I'm always looking to grow, and, I want to take that next step.
Clarence DLS Cowboys, going back to Pickens for a second. Obviously, the Pro Bowl is kind of exclamation point on the type of season he's had. Did you expect him to do this, play this well? I mean, he's never made the Pro Bowl before. He's never had these numbers before. I know you had high hopes, but I don't know if you expected to go this well.
I can't say that I really have thought about it. I knew we were getting a great player. I knew that the people that had talked about his past and what he was like, which to me, I'll start there. I always want to start there with George because he's just such a lovable guy and he's so fun to be around, and he's just GP. But I think the production comes because of the way he's worked. I think his connection with Dak is awesome. But again, CD deserves a lot of credit as well, and that's why I think when I talked about CD earlier, I mean, these guys draw attention away from one another, and I think their relationship is very, very important. So I think the numbers speak for themselves, but I didn't have hey, he's going to go for 1,200, 1,400, whatever it is. I just knew we were getting a great player.
How do you balance things with GB? Because you've talked about him missing some things. Certainly he was late in Vegas, and I'm sure he's been fined for missing things. How do you balance disciplining him for those things and in the way he plays and with the rest of the team?
Yeah, again, I'm the same guy every day. If you are late for something, you get fined. It doesn't matter whether your name is Pickens, Prescott, Smith, Osa. I mean, they all get fined the same. And we've got a pretty good process of how we do that, and we're aware of when they're here and what they've got going on. And but my biggest thing, Clarence, is I just have real conversation with these guys, and I explain to them, look, I don't want to take your money. I'm really not taking your money. You're taking your money, and it's funny because different guys view it different ways, and I think, but they appreciate the conversation, the honest conversation, and sometimes they have real reasons that they miss things, and sometimes they don't.
God.
You want to tell us the ones that they don't?
Yeah, that's a story for after the season.
Todd Archer.
Yeah, housekeeping. Nice. Yeah.
Todd Archer with ESPN. You mentioned
The
CD.
Glazer. The Glazer. Do you know what that means? I just learned that. I literally had to learn that. Yeah, my kids.
You
Yeah.
didn't know what it means.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Yeah, the players use it all the time. That's the only reason I know.
Nice.
Sorry. I know.
Yeah.
It's like the soda yesterday. It's like the soda.
You mentioned CD and the missing the games that he's missed. Can you imagine what the numbers he would have put up and the impact that would have had on wins and losses if he didn't miss those games?
Yeah, you think about it, because he's such a great player, and I'll say this too: he probably came back faster than he should have, and that shows you how much he loves this team. He loves this game. He wants to play, and nothing that he does surprises me. But yeah, it's scary to think. Was it 5 straight years? I think with over 1,000 yards. I think that's right. But yeah, missing 4 games, and the guy's just an incredible player.
And then stay in that position group. What's happened to Jalen Tolbert? He goes from 7 touchdown catches to now inactive and largely forgotten.
Yeah. Again, I think you look at the growth of the position. I love JT. I have really good conversation with JT. This has been hard on him, honestly. Just share that with you guys. I love the young man. He certainly can play in this league, but I do think part of it is we want to use Terp in some regards because of the speed and athleticism he has, and part of it is the fact that a guy like Ryan Flournoy has developed at a high rate, and you can see the position battle that we have there, and so. I tell these guys always be ready, and JT's a guy that will always be ready. And when he is given the call to play, if he's given the call to play, he'll be ready to go, and we won't hesitate to call his number.
John Machado with The Athletic. What would you say is the key to getting a team prepared in only really probably 2 days as opposed to having a full week?
Do what you do well. Try to carry over things that you've had up over the last couple weeks. Some you called, some you didn't. Be smart with their bodies. We'll run for, like I said, 6 to 8 plays today, full speed to get them moving a little bit. But what you don't want to do is beat yourself by trying to scheme things up. We can't do that. They really can't do that, although they had the extra day and they don't have to travel. But I think it's that. You focus on execution and doing things you do well. And, you obviously have to have a plan to take care of their great players, which they've got a number of great players, whether it's Payne and, Wagner and Louvu, or, McLaurin and Samuels. And certainly we have to stop the run. They're running the ball really, really well. But focus on us. Have a simple but tight plan that you can execute.
And then how much do you, if at all, go back to the Week 7 game and pull from that at all?
Yeah, it's different now. I mean, we look at some things, but, with DQ calling it now, you can still see Joe Witt's got a huge influence on what they're doing. Love both those guys. But we went back and we looked at it. But, again, it's been looking more at the stuff that DQ has started to call since he's taken over.
Nick Harris, 4-Star Telegram. You guys have talked about getting a lot out of these next 2 weeks, regardless of the playoffs or not. When they're division games, do you get more out of it, understanding that these are the teams you're going to play twice every year?
Well, you like to obviously win every game, but the division games are always fun. Just because you feel like you know them well, they know us well. The personalities blend because they're used to seeing each other at least twice a year. But at the end of the day, when I look at this football team, I see a football team that's better than their record. They've lost some close games. And again, it's a situation last year. They were in the NFC Championship game, right? And so this year it didn't work out that way. There's reasons why. I think, they're not creating as many turnovers and things on defense. And certainly they've had their issues with Jaden and all that. But, we really look at it the same, and we just love to play. And like I said, we'll play anybody, anywhere, any place.
Javonte's gotten banged up these last couple of weeks. Do you anticipate more opportunities for Malik Davis?
Again, we'll see how Tate feels. He certainly earned the right to be the bell cow here, Nick. We like him in that role. We'll be smart with him today and through tomorrow. And I know he's banged up like a lot of the guys are, but I think he'll be ready to go on Thursday for his normal load.
Patrick.
Hey, Coach. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. As you stated, obviously your goal is to win these last 2 games. To that point, you're going to start Dak Prescott, play your healthy starters. What's the challenge of playing to win, but also wanting to potentially get some of these younger guys on film so that you can revisit some of their scouting opportunities going into the offseason? Yeah,
I'll be honest. Again, I think, as the hard part, I'll speak to this week in general because they're very different weeks, right? Like this week, it's you barely practice, right? Yesterday we walked through. Today we did a little bit. We'll do a little bit. Tomorrow we do nothing, basically, but a walk. Next week, younger guys can earn more opportunities because we'll actually have a full week of prep, whether we play Saturday or Sunday. We'll find that out on Sunday, and it'll either be a normal 7-day routine for us or, 6-day routine. But I'm all for younger guys playing, but they have to earn the right to play because they have to earn the right for us to feel like they can help us win. And I think that's the way you look at it. Each case is case by case, and those guys know that.
Scott.
Scott Riggs on PAP. Back on George and CD. How important is the finish for them, given the great year that George has had, trying to finish that out? And as you mentioned, CD, there's some numbers he could still hit, even though he missed the 4 games. So how big are these two for those guys?
Well, I think, they're big in the fact that those two guys can have a huge part in helping us win. That's what it's always going to be about, Skylar, as you know. And again, neither one of those guys is sitting there looking at their stats saying, yeah, hey, I've done it. I mean, I guarantee the Pro Bowl won't change George. I mean, it's not going to change him. I didn't even know it was his first one. I would have assumed he would have made one along the way, but it speaks to the type of year he's had. And, CD will certainly be motivated, and a motivated CD is a very dangerous CD in a good way for us because, again, I'm sure he does feel as a competitor that, hey, I should be on that list, and I agree. I've seen the list, and there's some great players on there, but I'd put CD Lamb up there against any of them.
Garrett.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Brian, I know largely with Brandon Aubrey, you kind of let him do his thing, but when he comes to playing at Washington, he's kind of struggled throughout his career. What do you do, if anything, to help him with that?
Again, I'm not really a whisperer when it comes to kickers. Again, like I said, the biggest thing we try to do is we try to avoid having to kick 58 and 59 and beyond 60-yard field goals. That's part of it. But I have no question. We've actually been practicing outside more this year, just because we knew we had these 2 games coming where we'd be playing outside, although it's going to be 80 today or something. So I guess those couple days when you guys were in jackets might pay off a little bit, although it sounds like the forecast is going to be okay. But at the end of the day, Brandon's confidence is very high. The operation with him, Trent, and Banger is elite in my opinion, so I have no concerns to trot him out there, whatever it looks like, and believe he'll make all his kicks.
Tom.
Tommy Miller, DallasCowboys.com. Going back to what you were talking about with Dan calling plays now, what are some of the differences that you realize with how he's calling it versus how Joe did at the start of the year, and how does the familiarity that you have with both of those guys help you in terms of navigating that transition?
It's subtle adjustments. Like I honestly believe, like watching just, if you're just a casual fan watching the game, you probably wouldn't notice a whole lot. We certainly notice, more because we've got the video. We can cut it up and look at it in all the different situations and things. I think you just watch the way they're playing for Dan as they're playing a little bit, staying on top a little bit more, a little bit less man-to-man. They might come out and play us all man-to-man. But a little bit more, hey, bend but don't break and make the ball, go a long way. And they've had a bunch of injuries, which is part of the game. We all deal with that. But, again, both those guys are elite coaches. And like I said, I would be remiss if I didn't say it again. You can still see Joe Witt's fingerprint on this defense just because you don't call it. It's like me with Clayton. Clayton doesn't call it, but a huge part of what we do and the success we've had is because of Clayton Adams. And I'll be the first to say it along with the rest of the staff. So, but there's subtle differences.
And then when your secondary's given up the most yards through the air in the NFL this year, how do you kind of build their confidence in these last couple of games going in so they can transition to next year?
Yeah, it's part of that DNA of playing that position. When you're in the secondary, you're going to give up plays. I do think that where we have to get better, Tommy, is not giving up the explosives. That's kind of what's been our backbreaker for the year. I think last game they averaged 10 yards per attempt, which is not good. But the explosives are what do that. So they're going to make their plays. You go back to like a guy, Vaughn, Vaughn, struggled a little bit last game. Well, it's next man up. Hey, that guy over there, number 17, he's really good, and he's really fast. But it's just next opportunity. And you can't look back. You got to look to this opportunity. And it starts with us certainly getting pressure on the quarterback.
Last one, Nick.
You talk about consistency and consistency with a lot of guys. Are you getting consistency out of Tyler Guyton through this rehab process?
Ask the question again.
Tyler Guyton, are you getting consistency out of him?
Oh yeah, no, he's doing great. Yeah, like I said, the ankles they're tricky. It's weird, but I think the look on his face, even this week, has been different. I think he knows he's close, but again, it's got to transfer over to the field.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, guys. I won't see you guys till